Bacon mustard butter. This is the ultimate butter to put on your steak, your tenderloin, your filet, your fish, you name it. Just eat it as is. Bacon mustard butter in the morning is a great way to start the day. It's very simple to make. You see, I've got no equipment here other than just a knife and my ingredients. We don't need to paddle it. We don't need to do anything but think ahead a little bit because you gotta soften your butter. So I've got my softened butter in a bowl here. This is roughly a half a pound. Obviously, you know, you can kind of gauge these proportions up and down as you will. Got some shallot here. Now, I love shallot because it is a mild version of the onion. It's sweeter, it's milder, it's got a little bit more, jumping out of my hand there, a little bit more aromatic to it. So I'm just gonna take this down, cut it as I otherwise would an onion, dice it, chop it, mince it, mix it into my butter. Carrots, onions, and celery are the basic aromatics that we know as mirepoix. Adds flavor and foundation to any soup, sauce, you name it. And we love having this in our cooking alongside garlic and some of these other flavors because they're gonna add a layer that otherwise wouldn't be there. When you taste food and it tastes one-dimensional, it's because you're not getting those layers of aromatics. You're not getting that foundation in your food that comes along with a lot of these vegetables or the vegetal flavor, but also things like vinegars and you know, acids, and then ultimately salt, pepper, salty, sour, sweet, bitter, and umami. So a quick dice here on this shallot, real fine, right down the side there, okay? Take it down once and then make it a little bit fine, mince it, mix it into your butter, okay? The key with this butter is what I like when I'm cooking the meat is I don't actually cook the butter onto the meat. The minute it comes out of the oven, or maybe even the last minute that it's on the grill, I slather it all over the meat so it blooms all the flavors that are inside the butter, and it almost kind of imbues into the exterior layer of your meat or your fish or your protein, as it's not just cooking but cooling as well as you let it rest before you eat it. So we've got our shallot in here, okay? Just kind of mixing that in with my butter. Now, as you notice, I mean, this is definitely gonna take a little bit of elbow grease because you gotta emulsify all these ingredients into your butter. Not too difficult. Once again, you don't need to spend $400 on a KitchenAid or any other piece of equipment because you can just do this by hand yourself. So we've got our softened butter, we got shallot in there. Right here, I've got a little bit of sherry vinegar that I'm gonna add, okay? Always talk about acid. Dijon mustard, love it. Absolutely amazing on meat. It's bitter, it's got a little bit of spiciness to it, so it kind of cuts through the richness of some of that meat. Chives, I know we've already got our shallots in there, but that chives, it's another sweet, lighter vegetal flavor. And then once again, that blooms at the end as well. I've got a touch of barbecue sauce here, which is really just a tomato vinegar-based barbecue sauce. Nothing too sticky, nothing too sweet, but I like the flavors and the depth that adds to the steak. And I'm gonna add some Worcestershire sauce here, which has some of that fermented anchovy paste, which adds a ton of umami and layers of flavor. Now, once again, let me just kind of mix this together, and I'm gonna get my hand in here too. Now, before we add the piece de resistance, which is this nice crispy bacon, I'm just gonna at least start to kind of mix this up just a touch, all right? And don't worry, it might look broken right now, but we'll pull all these flavors together and it'll emulsify, it'll come together, and it will be beautiful. So I've got my bacon right here. Now, I cook this pretty much to crispy, you know, not too crispy, not too burnt, but I like to have a little bit of texture because this is also a nice element to add on top of your meat as you season it. So I'm just gonna do kind of a rough chop on here. Now, if you have some bacon fat left over, you can add the bacon fat to this butter as well if you want a bit more depth of flavor, but I'm just gonna fold that right into this compound butter, all right? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of mix it around, and as it all starts to come together, you'll see that it's developed into that compound butter. And then you can even just throw your hand right in there, and you can do it yourself by hand. I'm gonna, you know, I wanna be a gentleman here, so I'm not gonna get too crazy with my hands in there, but even just kind of peeling it onto, or I'm sorry, kind of scraping it onto the side of the bowl with your spatula, folding it in there is enough. And then you can make this ahead of time and have this butter on the ready at all times. Wrap it in plastic wrap, maybe even lay it on the plastic wrap and then roll it into a cylinder, and then you can kind of cut nice little round pieces of this and put it on top of your individual steaks, protein, fish, even spread it onto bread and use in your sandwiches. to have. This is perfect alongside making your own house-made vinaigrette. I say this is the second best thing, or the second best technique that you need to learn in terms of compound butters to make your cooking stand out from Martha's next door, who we all know that she's just buying takeout and throwing some chives on it at the end. Such a cheater, Martha. There you have it.